Maya sat on the edge of the old city bridge, her feet dangling just above the cold water. The afternoon sun reflected off the surface, making the river look like it was covered in gold. It was beautiful, but Maya's stomach growled, reminding her that she hadn't eaten since yesterday. She was used to it now, being hungry, being invisible, being forgotten. She pulled her thin jacket tighter around her shoulders. It used to be blue, now it was gray and torn. People passed by her every day, some avoiding her eyes, others pretending not to see her at all. She didn't blame them. She was just another homeless girl in a big city where everyone had their own problems. Every morning, Maya cleaned herself in the river, using a small bar of soap she kept in a plastic bag. Then she would walk to a small cafe nearby. The manager sometimes gave her leftover bread if she helped clean tables. It wasn't much, but it kept her alive. Even though life was hard, Maya never lost her heart. She loved watching the families that came to the river park. Children ran, laughed, and played with their parents. She would sit there quietly, imagining herself as one of them, wearing clean clothes, laughing, holding someone's hand. That day, the park was busier than usual. It was a weekend, and many families had come for picnics. Maya sat on her favorite rock, enjoying the breeze. She saw a boy throwing stones into the water, laughing each time they skipped. His laughter reminded her of her little brother, someone she hadn't seen in years. Her eyes softened as she watched him, but suddenly everything changed. The boy leaned too far over the edge, and with a loud splash he fell into the river. People screamed. His mother dropped her bag and ran to the edge, shouting his name, "Ethan!" Maya jumped up instantly. The boy's head appeared for a second, then vanished under the strong current. The crowd gathered, but no one moved. The water was deep and cold. Some people shouted for help, others called the police, but Maya didn't wait. She kicked off her shoes and dived in. The cold hit her like a wall, but she pushed forward. The river pulled at her clothes, but she kept swimming. She could see the boy's small hand above the water. Then nothing. Her lungs burned, but she went deeper. Finally, she saw him. His eyes closed, his body sinking fast. She grabbed his arm and pulled hard toward the surface. Breaking through the water, Maya gasped for air, dragging Ethan with her. The crowd cheered, some clapping, others crying in shock. Maya coughed, holding the boy close. She swam toward the shore, her arms aching. A man helped her pull the boy out of the water. Ethan wasn't breathing. Maya remembered what she had once seen on TV, how people pressed the chest and gave air. She tried it, her hands shaking. "Come on, please," she whispered. She pressed again and again until the boy suddenly coughed and vomited water. His mother screamed with relief and hugged him tightly. Tears filled Maya's eyes. For a moment, everything around her disappeared. It was just her, the boy, and the feeling that she had done something good, something that mattered. But before she could even stand, 2 security guards pushed through the crowd. They lifted the boy and carried him to a black car. The mother followed, still crying, but no one turned back to Maya. No one asked her name. No one said thank you. She stood there dripping wet, her hair sticking to her face. The cold wind bit at her skin, but she didn't move. People walked away, talking about the accident as if it was just a story to tell later. Maya looked down at her shaking hands. She smiled weakly. "At least he's safe," she whispered to herself. That was enough. As the sun set, she sat again by the river, her clothes still damp. The golden light faded, replaced by soft pink and purple hues. The city lights began to shine one by one. She hugged her knees, wondering if life would ever notice her, if kindness ever came back. But what Maya didn't know was that somewhere in the black car, a little boy named Ethan was telling his father about a brave girl who had saved him, and that story was about to change Maya's life forever. The sound of sirens faded in the distance, but Maya stayed where she was, sitting beside the riverbank. Her body trembled from the cold, her wet clothes clinging to her skin. She wrapped her arms around herself and took slow breaths, trying to calm her racing heart. The memory of the boy sinking into the water replayed in her mind over and over. She had acted on instinct, not courage. She hadn't thought about her own safety. She just couldn't watch him die. As she stared at the water, she saw a small bracelet floating nearby. It must have fallen from the boy's wrist. Maya picked it up. It was golden with a little blue gem in the middle. It looked expensive. She smiled faintly, whispering, "You'll miss this, little guy." She decided to keep it safe, hoping to return it one day. The next morning, Maya woke up near the same bridge. Her thin blanket was still damp and she shivered under it. The city was already awake. Cars honking, people hurrying to work. Life was moving on like nothing had happened. She walked to the cafe where she sometimes helped clean, but the manager shook his head. "No leftovers today, Maya, sorry." She forced a smile. "It's okay, maybe tomorrow." As she turned to leave, she noticed a group of reporters outside showing a photo of the boy she had saved. The headline on the newspaper stand read, "Billionaire's son saved from drowning, rescuer unknown." Maya's eyes widened. "Billionaire's son?" She whispered the word softly, almost in disbelief. She looked at the paper again. There was a picture of the man, Mr. Harrison, a well-known businessman, and his young son, Ethan. So the boy she saved wasn't just anyone. He was from a world far above hers. Maya's heart sank a little. People like that never noticed girls like her. Still, she smiled. "At least he's safe. That's all that matters," she murmured. Later that evening, Maya walked back toward the river. The spot was quiet now, almost peaceful. She sat on her rock again, watching the sunset reflect on the water. She took out the little golden bracelet and turned it in her hand. For a brief moment, she imagined meeting the boy again, maybe giving it back to him and hearing a simple, "Thank you." That would mean more to her than money ever could. At the same time, across the city, Ethan sat in his big bed, still weak but awake. His father sat beside him, holding his small hand. Ethan told the same story again and again, how a girl had jumped into the river and saved him. "She was brave, Daddy," he said, his eyes wide with admiration. "She didn't even know me, but she didn't wait for anyone. She just jumped." Mr. Harrison listened carefully, his throat tightening. "Did you see her face, son?" Ethan nodded. She had short curly hair and she looked cold, but kind. That night, Mr. Harrison made a promise to himself. He would find that girl and thank her. Not just with words, but with something that would truly change her life. 2 days later, posters appeared around the city, searching for the hero who saved Ethan Harrison. Maya saw one near the cafe. Her heart skipped a beat. People whispered about the reward money and how the billionaire wanted to meet the rescuer. But Maya stayed quiet. She didn't want money or fame. She just wanted peace. Still, fate had its own plan. The next morning, as Maya washed her face in the river, a black car stopped on the bridge. 2 men stepped out, both wearing suits. They looked around and then walked toward her. Maya froze, afraid they might ask her to leave the area again. One of them spoke gently. "Are you Maya?" She hesitated. "Yes." "Who are you?" "We're from Mr. Harrison's office. He's looking for the girl who saved his son." Maya blinked in surprise. "You mean Ethan?" They nodded. "Yes, he hasn't stopped talking about you." Her heart pounded so fast it hurt. The men smiled warmly and asked her to come with them. She climbed into the shiny car nervously, her old shoes leaving wet marks on the leather seats. She felt out of place like a stray cat in a royal palace. When the car reached a large mansion, Maya's breath caught in her throat. The house looked like something from a dream. Tall glass windows, a garden full of white roses, and guards standing near the gates. Inside, everything sparkled. Then she saw Ethan. He ran toward her, smiling brightly. "You came," he said, hugging her tightly. Maya froze, then smiled back shyly. Mr. Harrison walked in, his expression serious but kind. "So you're the one who saved my son?" he asked. Maya lowered her eyes. "I just did what anyone would do, sir." Harrison shook his head slowly. "No, many people were there, but only you jumped." His voice softened. "You saved my world." Tears welled up in Maya's eyes. For the first time, someone powerful looked at her. Not with pity, but with gratitude. She didn't know it yet, but this meeting was only the beginning. What Harrison planned to do for her was far beyond anything she could ever imagine. The sun rose softly over the Harrison estate, spilling golden light through the tall glass windows. Inside, Mr. Harrison sat in his study, unable to focus on his work. For 2 days he had barely slept. Every time he looked at his son, he remembered the trembling little boy who could have drowned if not for a stranger's courage. The image haunted him, the thought of losing Ethan, the feeling of helplessness, and the words his son kept repeating. "She saved me. Daddy, please find her." Mr. Harrison was a man used to power, money, and control, but now he felt something different, gratitude and guilt. Gratitude toward the brave girl, and guilt for how easily he could have lost everything. He had already sent his team to search for her, but no one had found anything yet. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, Maya sat on the steps of the shelter, staring at the bracelet she had found. She still didn't know what to do with it. The thought of returning it scared her. What if they thought she stole it? But deep down, she wanted to see Ethan again, just once, to know he was really okay. Later that afternoon, as Mr. Harrison scrolled through local news updates, something caught his eye. A blurry photo of a young girl, drenched and shaking, standing by the river right after the rescue. The caption read, "Unknown girl dives into river to save boy." His heart leapt. "That's her," he whispered. He called his assistant immediately. "I want every camera angle, every report, and every witness near that bridge that day."
Find her!
Hours turned into a full-day search. Harrison's security team combed through shelters, food banks, and bus stops. They showed her photo everywhere, but most people hadn't seen her. Still, one old cafe owner recognized her. "That's Maya," the man said. "She comes here sometimes. Quiet girl, polite. Always helps clean up." The next morning, a black car pulled up outside the cafe. Maya was inside, sweeping the floor as usual. The door opened and two men in suits entered. "Maya," one of them asked. "Mr. Harrison would like to see you." She froze, gripping the broom. "Me? Why?" The man smiled kindly. "Because you saved his son." Maya's heart raced. Her mind filled with questions. Would they be angry? Would they think she did it for money? But the man's calm tone made her feel safe. Slowly, she nodded and followed them outside. The car ride was silent. Maya watched the tall buildings pass by, feeling smaller with every mile. Her reflection in the window looked tired, but her eyes glowed with a quiet strength. She didn't belong in a rich world like theirs, yet fate was pulling her there anyway. When they reached the Harrison mansion, she couldn't believe her eyes. The gates opened like something out of a dream. Beautiful gardens stretched in every direction, and the house shimmered in white marble. For a moment, Maya hesitated to step out of the car. Inside, everything was spotless and shining. The staff greeted her respectfully, though she could see curiosity in their eyes. One of them led her to a large room filled with books and soft light. Mr. Harrison stood there, tall and well-dressed, his expression unreadable. Ethan sat beside him, his eyes lighting up the moment he saw her. "Daddy, that's her." "That's Maya!" the boy shouted, running to hug her. Maya froze for a second before gently hugging him back. Her eyes glistened. "You look better now," she said softly. Mr. Harrison stepped forward. "You saved my son's life," he said. "I don't know how to thank you." Maya shook her head. "You don't have to, sir. I just couldn't let him drown. That's all." But Harrison wasn't satisfied with such a simple answer. "You risked your life for someone you didn't even know. That's something few people would do." His voice softened. "Do you have a place to stay, Maya?" Her silence said everything. She lowered her eyes. "I live near the river, sir." "I'm fine," he frowned gently. "You're not fine. No one your age should be living on the streets." Ethan grabbed her hand. "Daddy, can she stay here for a while?" "Please?" Maya's eyes widened in surprise. "Oh no, I can't stay here." "I don't belong," Harrison interrupted softly. "You do, Maya. You belong somewhere safe." He turned to his assistant. "Prepare a room for her, and arrange some clothes and food." Maya tried to protest, but her voice broke. "I didn't save him for anything in return." Harrison smiled kindly. "That's why you deserve everything." That night, for the first time in years, Maya slept in a real bed. The sheets smelled like flowers and the pillow was soft. She stared at the ceiling, unable to believe what had happened. In one day, her world had changed completely. Downstairs, Mr. Harrison sat in his office, holding the golden bracelet his son had lost. Maya had returned it to him before dinner. He turned it over in his hand and whispered, "She's the reason my boy is alive." He knew then that this was not just an act of kindness to repay. It was the beginning of something far greater, a second chance for a girl the world had ignored. And as Maya slept peacefully upstairs, her life of loneliness was quietly turning into a life of hope. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the tall windows of the Harrison mansion. Birds sang in the garden outside, their sound soft and peaceful. Maya opened her eyes slowly, almost afraid to move. The bed was warm, the sheets smelled of lavender, and the air was filled with quiet comfort. For a long time, she simply lay there, wondering if this was all a dream. A gentle knock came on the door. A kind-looking woman stepped inside with a tray of breakfast. Good morning, Miss Maya, she said with a smile. Mr. Harrison asked me to bring this to you. Maya sat up quickly. For me? She asked in disbelief. Yes, dear. He said you must be hungry. Maya thanked her softly. When the woman left, she looked at the food, eggs, toast, fruit, and a cup of hot tea. It was more than she had eaten in a week. Her hands trembled slightly as she took the first bite. Tears filled her eyes. She had never been treated this kindly in her whole life. Downstairs, Mr. Harrison sat in his office reading through files. But his mind wasn't on business. He was thinking about Maya. Something about her had touched him deeply. She didn't want fame or money. She didn't even want attention. All she wanted was peace and a little kindness. He respected that more than anything. Ethan ran into the office with his usual burst of energy. Daddy, can Maya stay forever? He asked, his voice full of hope. Harrison smiled slightly. She can stay as long as she wants, son. But we have to help her get back on her feet first. Ethan frowned. What does that mean? It means, Harrison said gently, we'll make sure she has a safe place to live, clothes to wear, and a chance to go to school if she wants. Ethan's eyes brightened. That's a good idea. Later that day, Maya came downstairs nervously. Her old clothes had been washed, and she wore a clean dress the staff had given her. She looked simple but graceful. The mansion's luxury still made her uncomfortable, but Ethan's cheerful smile made her feel welcome. Good morning, Maya, he said, holding her hand. Come meet my dad. Harrison stood up as she entered the room. Good morning, Maya, he greeted warmly. I hope you rested well. Yes, sir, she replied softly. Thank you for letting me stay. He gestured for her to sit. Please call me Mr. Harrison. You've done more for my family than anyone could imagine. You saved my son's life. I can never repay that, Maya shook her head. I didn't do it for anything, sir. I just couldn't stand there and watch. Her words carried a quiet strength that moved him deeply. For a long moment, no one spoke. Finally, Harrison said, Maya, if you don't mind, I'd like to know more about you. Where did you live before? She hesitated, her eyes lowering. I've been on the streets for 2 years, sir. After my mother passed, I had nowhere to go. I tried to find work, but no one would hire me because I didn't finish school. Harrison felt his chest tighten. He could see the pain she tried to hide. You've been through a lot, he said softly. But you're safe now. You don't have to struggle alone anymore. Maya blinked back tears. Thank you, sir. I don't know how to say how much that means to me. He smiled gently. Then say it with your future. That's all I ask. That evening, Harrison gathered his staff. He spoke clearly, his tone filled with determination. From this day on, Maya is a guest in this house. She will have every right and respect as a member of this family. The staff nodded respectfully. Word spread quickly, and even those who had doubted her now looked at her with new eyes. Over the next few days, Harrison's team arranged everything for Maya. New clothes, health checkups, and even private tutoring. When they asked her what she wanted to learn, Maya smiled shyly. I always wanted to study reading and writing properly. Maybe one day I can help others like me. Harrison's eyes softened. You will, Maya, I believe that. Meanwhile, Ethan became her closest friend. Every day they spent time in the garden, feeding birds, reading stories, or simply talking about life. Ethan loved hearing about her adventures on the streets, how she found food, helped stray dogs, and slept under the stars. One evening, as they watched the sunset, Ethan said quietly, You know, Maya, you're my hero. Maya laughed softly. No, Ethan, I'm just someone who did what she had to do. But Ethan shook his head. No, you're my hero, because you didn't have to save me. But you did. Maya's smile faded into a thoughtful silence. She looked at the horizon, the sky glowing orange and pink. Maybe heroes aren't the ones who wear capes, she whispered. Maybe they're just people who care. Unseen from the balcony above, Mr. Harrison watched them quietly. His heart swelled with pride and hope. Maya had brought something into their lives that no money could buy. Human warmth, humility, and courage. As night fell, he made a silent promise to himself. He wouldn't just help Maya for now. He would make sure her entire life changed for the better. She had saved his son. Now it was his turn to save her future. And so, the real story of Maya's transformation was just beginning. One that would soon capture the hearts of everyone who heard it. Morning sunlight spilled into the dining room, lighting up the long table where fresh fruit, bread, and juice waited. Maya stood at the doorway, nervous as ever, unsure if she was allowed to sit. She still couldn't get used to the idea of living in a billionaire's mansion. The marble floor, the smell of flowers, the sound of soft music, all of it felt like a dream she might wake up from any second. Mr. Harrison noticed her standing there and smiled warmly. "Good morning, Maya," he said. "Come, have breakfast with us," Ethan waved eagerly. "Sit next to me," he said, patting the chair beside him. Maya hesitated. "Are you sure, sir?" "Of course," Harrison replied kindly. "This is your home, too, for as long as you wish." Slowly, Maya sat down. She looked at the table full of food, fresh bread, butter, and fruit juice. She hadn't seen so much food since she was a child. When she picked up a slice of bread, her hands trembled slightly. Ethan smiled. "You don't have to be shy, Maya. Daddy says heroes eat as much as they want." Maya laughed softly, and for the first time in years, she felt like she belonged. After breakfast, Harrison led her to his study. The room was filled with books, trophies, and family photos. One picture caught Maya's eye. It was a photo of Harrison and Ethan smiling near the river, the same river where she had jumped in. "Maya," Harrison began, "I've been thinking about something for days. You've saved my son's life, and no amount of money can truly repay that. But I don't want to just thank you and send you away. I want to give you a chance to live the life you deserve." Maya looked confused. "What do you mean, sir?" He leaned forward. "I'd like to offer you something special, an education. You'll go back to school, have your own place to live, and start a new chapter. My company will sponsor you until you graduate." Her eyes widened. "Sir, that's too much. I can't accept something like that," Harrison smiled gently. "Maya, you've already proven what kind of person you are. Brave, selfless, and kind. You deserve this. It's not charity. It's a reward for the goodness you carry." Tears filled Maya's eyes. "I don't even know how to thank you." "You don't have to," he said softly. "Just promise me you'll keep believing in yourself." Ethan suddenly ran into the room holding something behind his back. "I have a surprise too," he said excitedly. He pulled out a small necklace with a blue crystal pendant. "It's from Mom's collection. I want you to have it," Maya gasped. "Oh, Ethan, I can't take this. It looks so expensive." Ethan shook his head stubbornly. "You saved my life. It's yours now." Harrison smiled proudly at his son. "It seems you've made quite an impression on him." That afternoon, Maya walked around the garden. She touched the flowers, breathed the fresh air, and thought about how far she'd come. A week ago, she had been sleeping on cold pavement. Now she had a warm bed, food, and people who cared for her. It felt unreal, but along with gratitude came fear. What if she failed them? What if she couldn't fit into this new life? She sat under a tree, lost in thought. Harrison found her there a few minutes later. "Maya," he said gently. "What's wrong?" She hesitated. "I'm just thinking. I don't know if I belong in your world, sir. I'm not like the people you know. I don't have fancy words or nice clothes. I'm just me." Harrison sat beside her on the bench. "Maya, do you know why my son survived?" She looked at him, unsure. "Because I jumped in?" He nodded. "Yes, but not everyone would have done that. You didn't need fancy clothes or a title. You had something far more powerful, courage and compassion. That's what makes you truly special." Maya looked down, her eyes glistening. "You really think I can do this? Study again? Start over?" "I don't think," he said kindly. "I know." At that moment, Ethan came running toward them with a small basket. "We're planting flowers," he said happily. "Maya, come help me." Harrison chuckled. "Go on. He's been waiting all morning." Maya smiled and joined Ethan. Together, they dug small holes and planted seeds in the garden. The boy laughed as dirt covered his hands. "Daddy says flowers grow better when people who love them plant them." Maya smiled at that. "Then these will grow very strong." As she worked, Harrison watched from the porch, feeling something he hadn't felt in years. A quiet joy. This girl had reminded him and his son what life was really about: kindness, hope, and second chances. Later that evening, Harrison called his lawyer and school contacts. He began arranging Maya's enrollment in one of the city's best schools. He wanted her to have every opportunity possible. When he finished, he looked at the family photo on his desk again. This time he smiled differently, warmer, lighter. "You saved my son, Maya," he whispered. "Now I'll make sure your life never falls into darkness again." And upstairs, under the soft glow of a bedside lamp, Maya held the crystal necklace Ethan had given her. She whispered to herself, Maybe kindness does come back. Then she smiled, closed her eyes, and dreamed not of the streets but of a future filled with light. Days turned into weeks, and Maya slowly began to adjust to her new life. The mansion, which had once felt too bright and overwhelming, became a place where she could breathe, learn, and grow. Each morning she woke up to the sound of birds in the garden and the gentle hum of the city in the distance. For the first time in years, she felt safe. Ethan was her constant companion. He had taken it upon himself to show Maya the best parts of his world. They played in the gardens, read stories together, and sometimes simply sat quietly, watching the sunset. His laughter was infectious, and Maya found herself smiling more than she had in months. She even began to teach him small things she had learned on the streets, how to be careful, how to notice small details, and how to help others quietly without expecting anything in return. School was a different challenge. Maya had not attended regular classes for years, and at first she struggled. Letters and numbers seemed confusing, and she often felt frustrated. But Harrison had arranged for a private tutor, Mrs. Collins, who was patient and kind. She encouraged Maya to take small steps, and slowly, Maya's confidence grew. Each time she learned something new, she felt a sense of pride that she had never experienced before. One afternoon, while studying in the library, Maya paused to look out the large window. She saw a group of children playing in the park below. Some of them were laughing, some were crying, some were helping each other. She thought of her life on the streets and of the many children she had passed every day without being able to help. A small fire ignited in her chest, a desire to make a difference, to give back in the same way she had once saved Ethan. Maya shared her thoughts with Harrison one evening while they sat in the study. "I want to help other children like me," she said softly. "Those who have no home, no food, no one to care for them. Maybe I can teach them, help them, or just be there for them." Harrison looked at her with deep admiration. "Maya, that's a beautiful thought. You have the heart to change many lives, and I will support you in every way I can." Encouraged by his words, Maya began volunteering at a small shelter nearby. At first, she simply helped organize meals and distribute clothing. Then she started reading to younger children, teaching them basic lessons and listening to their stories. She saw herself in them, the fear, the loneliness, and the hope that maybe someone would notice them one day. The city began to notice her too. News outlets reported on the homeless girl who had saved a billionaire's son and was now giving back to the community. People were inspired by her courage and her humility. Donations poured into the shelter, and Maya was asked to speak at small events to share her story. Each time she spoke, she felt nervous but also proud. She had gone from being invisible to being a voice of hope. Back at the mansion, Harrison continued to guide her. He arranged educational programs, introduced her to influential people who could help her achieve her dreams, and gave her the freedom to explore the world beyond the walls of the estate. Maya slowly began to feel like she belonged, not just in the mansion, but in life itself. Ethan often joined her on her visits to the shelter. The children loved him, and his presence brought smiles and laughter. Maya watched as the boy who had once been saved became a helper in someone else's story. Together they planted gardens, painted walls, and played games, creating small moments of joy in the lives of children who had known too much hardship. One evening, as Maya and Ethan returned from the shelter, they sat in the garden under the golden sunset. Maya held the small bracelet she had found by the river months ago. She had kept it as a reminder of where she came from, and of the courage that had changed everything. Ethan looked at her with wide eyes. "Maya, do you think people like us can really make a difference?" Maya smiled, gently holding his hand. "Yes, Ethan. One small act of kindness can change a life, and sometimes it changes many lives." Harrison watched them from the balcony above, a quiet smile on his face. He had seen Maya transform, not just in her surroundings, but in herself. The girl who had once feared the cold streets, who had doubted the world and herself, was now confident, compassionate, and strong. She had become someone who inspired others, someone who would never again be invisible. The transformation wasn't just in her life circumstances, it was in her spirit. Maya had learned to trust, to hope, and to believe that even the smallest person could make the biggest difference. Her courage had saved a life, and her heart was now saving many more. As night fell, Maya stood in the garden looking up at the stars. She whispered softly to herself, "This is only the beginning." and deep inside she knew it was true. Her journey had changed her life forever, and it was far from over. Months had passed since Maya first stepped into the Harrison mansion. The streets, the cold nights, and the hunger that had once defined her life felt like a distant memory. She had learned to read and write properly, attended school regularly, and spent time volunteering at the shelter. Each day brought new experiences, new lessons, and a growing sense of purpose. She had begun to understand that life could be more than survival. It could be hope, love, and even joy. One sunny morning, Harrison asked Maya to join him in the study. She entered cautiously, wondering what the meeting was about. Harrison was standing by the window, holding a folder in his hand. His expression was serious yet kind. Ethan peeked in from the doorway. "Maya, come on." "Daddy says it's something important," he said, tugging gently at her hand. Maya followed them into the study. Harrison gestured for her to sit. "Maya, you have shown remarkable courage, strength, and kindness over the past months," he began. "You've not only saved my son's life but inspired everyone around you, including me. Today I want to give you something truly special." Maya looked down, unsure what to expect. "Sir, you've already given me so much." "I don't need anything else," she said softly. Harrison shook his head. "It's not just about what you need, Maya. It's about what you deserve." He opened the folder and handed it to her. Inside were documents she barely recognized. Her eyes widened as she skimmed through them. "These are for a full scholarship," Harrison explained. "Any university of your choice, all tuition covered, including room and board. I want you to continue your education, learn everything you want, and prepare yourself to help others in ways you've always dreamed of." Maya's hands shook. I don't know what to say. This is too much. I've never had anything like this in my life," she whispered, tears forming in her eyes. "You've earned it," Harrison said firmly, his voice gentle but unwavering. "Your bravery, your compassion, your heart, they are rare, and they deserve to be recognized and nurtured." Ethan bounced excitedly on the balls of his feet. "That's amazing, Maya. You're going to school. You're going to be super smart." Maya laughed softly through her tears. I never imagined anything like this could happen to me," she admitted. Harrison smiled. "And there's one more thing," he said, placing a small box on the desk in front of her. Maya opened it carefully. Inside was a delicate necklace with a small blue gem, the same color as the bracelet she had found by the river. Her breath caught in her throat. "This is for you," Harrison said, "a reminder of the day you changed our lives and of the courage that has carried you through every challenge. Wear it always." Maya held the necklace close to her heart. I don't even have words," she said. "Thank you, sir. Thank you both. You've changed my life forever." Harrison nodded. "That's the least we could do. But the most important thing is what you will do with it. How you will use this chance to make the world better, just like you've started doing already." Over the following weeks, preparations began for Maya's new journey. She visited universities, met with professors, and even got her first set of professional clothes. Every step was unfamiliar yet thrilling. The city, once a place of struggle and fear, now held endless opportunities. Maya felt like a new person, but she never forgot the streets, the bridge, or the boy whose life had set this journey in motion. Ethan continued to be her companion and supporter, often reminding her to have fun, to laugh, and to never lose hope. Harrison remained her guide, offering advice and encouragement without ever being overbearing. The mansion, the school, and the opportunities were all gifts, but the true gift was the belief that she mattered, that her life had meaning. One afternoon, as she walked through the garden, Maya paused to look at the flowers she had planted with Ethan. They were blooming beautifully, vibrant, and full of life. She smiled, remembering the day she had first held the little boy in her arms by the river. That single act of bravery had not only saved a life, but had given her the chance to transform her own. Months later, the Harrison family hosted a small ceremony at the mansion. Friends, staff, and community members gathered to celebrate Maya's scholarship and her work at the shelter. She gave a speech, her voice steady but full of emotion. "I never thought anyone would notice me," she said. "I never imagined that one act of courage could change my life. But it did. And now, I want to help others, to give them hope, to show them that even in the darkest times, kindness and courage can shine through." The audience applauded, and Harrison felt a swell of pride. Maya had grown into someone remarkable, not because of wealth or privilege, but because of her heart. That evening, as Maya prepared for bed in her new room, she held the blue gem necklace in her hands. She whispered softly, "I will never forget where I came from. I will never forget what I am capable of." Her eyes closed, and for the first time in her life, Maya dreamed not of fear or hunger, but of possibilities, of hope, courage, and a life that was truly hers. She had started as a girl by the river, small and unseen, but now she was a young woman whose bravery had changed the world around her. And she knew that one act of courage could ripple outward forever, touching lives in ways no one could ever imagine. Her transformation was complete. She had not only been rescued, she had risen,